The first two episodes of HBO's The Penguin are out, and I gotta say, I'm feeling pretty positive about it. But what does this really mean for the DC universe? That's where things get a little trickier. The show's already shaping up to be a success. It pretty much is already. And that's great, right? Well, maybe not entirely. Let me break down what could end up being the biggest issue with this new gem. Like I said, The Penguin is seriously high quality. If you haven't watched it yet, or you're on the fence, I definitely recommend giving it a shot. It works great as individual episodes, and I'm sure it'll be even better when the full season's out. The story feels tight. If there were any doubts after the first episode, a couple of moments in the second one wiped them out completely. The tone is spot on. Starting with the color palette, I really liked how they went for a more realistic vibe like Nolan did, but kept it vibrant with contrast and accent colors. Just a few details, but they make a big difference. And extending to how the characters talk. There's no comic book caricature here, no bright, exaggerated costumes, no animal imagery to hit you over the head with obvious symbolism, no cheap associations like umbrellas or, penguins. They still get the same effect, but by giving us an old-school mobster with his own principles, quirks, and habits that hint at a guy with a past. Every scar, his look, his mannerisms, the way he walks and talks, and how he adapts depending on the situation, showing different sides of himself, it all makes sense for his character. Basically, he feels real. That's what makes him so convincing, and what makes everything around him so intense and believable. And just the right amount of genre absurdity reminds you of what you're watching. In my opinion, this realistic style is exactly what fits the DC universe best. Seriously, I could talk about this for hours. We've already got Nolan's films as a perfect example. You could call it a stroke of directorial genius, maybe even a lucky shot. And Joker, another solid confirmation. So you'd think by now it's clear this isn't just a coincidence, right? And now The Penguin adds to the pile, moving away from the typical flashy, candy-coated storytelling of Marvel and into something that feels more like a dark gray reality with all its shades. I think we can finally stop calling all of this a coincidence. Trust me, it's not. Which means this is a great find. So, what's the problem? Well, it's exactly what we're seeing in the industry right now. They're still trying to copy Marvel's style like it's the only way to do comic book adaptations, and they just can't seem to let go. Even though so many DC films have bombed at the box office and gotten negative reactions from their core audience, apparently that's not enough of a wake-up call. Okay, you might say, this is art, it's a director's vision, that's how they see it, that's what they want, but they also seem to think that if they just adjust their own material to fit this style, they'll rake in money like Marvel does. It's a dead-end strategy, especially when instead of reaching a big audience, you're only getting a fraction of the one you had before. Marvel nailed their tone right from the start for their universe, where things mostly end on a positive note, good triumphs over evil, and we get those familiar feel-good stories. It's a world with smoothed edges, the optimistic part of the universe we all want to believe in. Yeah, that's their thing and it fits, but not DC. At the heart of DC are complex characters, where good and evil are constantly flipping and switching places. And the darker the story, the more it blows your mind. The heroes are defined by their flaws and how they struggle with them. So, yeah, picking a tone that is so completely unsuited for that kind of world, that takes some effort. Can it be pulled off in theory? Sure. I think Man of Steel and Wonder Woman came close, but to be honest, they still feel like mid-tier films unable to break into that top level. Suicide Squad, though? Both versions prove just how hard it is. The first one didn't quite hit the mark, and the second one went way too far in trying to be flashy, memorable, and way too extreme in its violence. In trying to be Marvel, Gunn's Suicide Squad lost what makes DC unique, and the real essence got buried, all because they keep chasing what they think is the easy path to big profits, all because they keep trying to take what they think is the straight path to big bucks. And that's really where the conflict lies. In my opinion, The Penguin is raising a pretty crucial point. It's showing that DC needs to change its style and approach in this direction, and it's doing it loud and clear. Not only is this a new level of quality content, but it's exactly what people want. Shout out to HBO for that. But if you look at the upcoming projects and who's behind them, it feels like they're headed in the opposite direction, at least for now. The endless attempts to create something that just doesn't work are honestly kind of sad. And when the audience sees the contrast between content that's actually interesting, layered, and gives a fresh spin on old material, and those Marvel-like DC projects, I bet they'll be even less interested. Losing hope, losing patience. And to me, that just means the creators are digging their own financial grave. And then they'll probably say they just weren't understood. So I think this series offers a lot to think about, not just as a standalone product, but as part of the bigger picture. It's definitely raised the bar for what we're going to be watching next. Now, do you really think Gunn's upcoming Superman and Supergirl can compete with this? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button if you found this interesting, and don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell if you want more breakdowns like this and don't want to miss them. See you in the next video!